أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Last year, Allah gave me opportunity with His grace to make commentary on Surah Al-Fatiha. Although it's not possible to exhaust the meaning of any verse of the Holy Quran, yet it is possible from time to time to bring to light certain aspects of a verse, and in the light of some other verses, explain those verses to not perfection, but to near perfection. Now, this is a statement which itself requires an explanation. It's impossible to exhaust the meaning of the Holy Quran in any commentary. That's one thing. Yet, every situation requires explanations, and a book cannot be called a perfect book if for every situation you try to explain the pros and cons in the light of the guidance, yet you do it imperfectly and always leave room for improvement. So in that light, the book will not be looked at as a perfect book. Now, if you, on the other hand, claim that you have exhausted the meaning, then the book would appear to be a limited book, because a human being with finite knowledge and capabilities will be considered as capable of exhausting an infinite book, the meanings of an infinite book, or in another way, being able to encompass the meaning of Allah's word, while Allah Himself says, "La yuhituna bishay'in min ilmihi illa bima sha'a." So what is the compromise between these two paradoxical situations? This is what I was attempting to make clear to you. The compromise that appears to me is this: that for each situation, the book must have a perfect answer. And from situation to situation, you can exhaust the meaning to that perfection, which is a relative perfection, because it applies to a certain situation. Now, in this context, I want to repeat the meaning of Al-Alameen, very briefly, of course, not in the same longish way, because all I have to say is it depends and will continue to refer back to Al-Alameen. Al-Alameen, as I said last year, is applicable to all the existence, all the things which exist, which can be observed by others, and they are alameen in as much as they are observed. And also alameen applies to all things which exist, which lead to others, unknown things. A known entity which may lead to the unknown entity, a present which may lead to the absent. So in this context I explained the meaning of Al-Alameen, and with reference to this meaning I explained the meaning of Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Now Alameen, although it has an outside apparently independent existence, for instance this microphone, this carpet, this room where you are sitting, all of us whom we are observing each other, mutually observing, they all seem to have independent existences. But remove one after the other, the observer, and the things seem to totally disappear. I am an observer, and there is an alam before me. If I am removed, I become unconscious. A whole alam would die out. And if one after the other, all the observers are removed from the scene, one can reasonably conclude that the sum total would be the total disappearance of this alam of which we are speaking. Whether it exists or not, that becomes totally irrelevant. Only it will become relevant if it is also observed by some other being. So in that sense, an alam can only have a permanent existence or a sort of permanent existence with reference to Allah. With reference to all other vantage points, observing points, the alams come and go. They appear and disappear. And there is absolutely no constancy in existence. Unless the observer is constant. So the reality reverts to Allah alone because He is a constant observer, He is a constant being. So I spoke in detail on this part, so I don't want to repeat it, but to carry you along from where I left the thread last time, I have to repeat this point. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen proves that there has to be a praiseworthiness in everything which we observe. Now I'm reverting to the vantage point of a man. Alam as seen by human beings, by us. When we observe alam, because there is a condition attached to all that has been created, observable things which have been created by Allah, there is a condition attached, that is Alhamdulillah. Whenever you will observe anything of creation, you will find that the Creator will be praised, because everything would be found in a perfect order. It would contain an innate beauty. As such, naturally you will praise the Creator. Otherwise, Alhamdulillah is a wrong statement. But that has another shade of meaning as well, another angle as well. The thing which is created, it will also have an imprint of the Creator's beauty. Otherwise, you cannot observe the hum at all. Alam, as I said, can be looked at from 2 points. One, a point of observation by itself, object of observation, and the other, it leads to an unknown entity. Now, you cannot be led to the unknown entity, that is God, and your mind cannot be reverted to Allah with praise unless you find a quality of praise in the thing you are observing. If you look at a beautiful child, then you can conceive in your imagination the beauty of the mother as well. But if there is no beauty in the child, he can never lead to the beauty of the parents. This is why it is called Al-Waladu Sirrul Li. So everything which exists or we should, as I explained earlier, everything which we observe or which can be observed by any entity, any being, has a quality of praise from every end. Now, as I explained already, because things by themselves do not mean anything unless they are observed from our world. So, observer would define what is the meaning of alam in one particular situation. This carpet is being observed by you and me differently, of course. So our alameen are different here. But this carpet is also being observed by the all insects which are moving about. Visible both as well as invisible. They are also observing this carpet differently. So Alhamdulillah, who positively established the fact, because alam is related to observation. So from every vantage point, whoever is observing a thing, he would find a quality of praise about it. This carpet is praiseworthy from the point of view of an ant. This carpet is praiseworthy from the point of view of a bacteria, a bug, a human being. Those who take shelter as bugs in the carpet, they have also a quality of the carpet to enjoy. Those who eat it, the worms, they have also a quality to enjoy which you cannot. So in everything which exists, that is again to say that everything which is observable, there are innumerable qualities of praise. Because as you change the angle of vision and the person who observes becomes different, the quality of praise will become different. So a different God would be reflected in the same thing. So within one single alam, there would be a whole universe of alameen from the vantage point as it differs. Now everything which has a quality of comes about it also has a quality of the following attributes of God which have been mentioned in this verse. That is Rahmaniyat, Rabubiyat, Rahmaniyat and Rahimiyat. This is a very important point which you must keep in view, because without this you cannot comprehend the true nature of things. Everything which is called alam or a part of alam must have the qualities of Rabubiyat, Rahmaniyat and Rahimiyat, because they lead you to Rab, Rahman and Rahim. Alam in this sense that it leads to something else. The known leads to the unknown. Has to be interpreted in this way, otherwise it would become meaningless. So unless there is a quality of Rabubiyat in everything of the alam, of the universe, unless there is a quality of Rahmaniyat in everything of the universe, unless there is a quality of Rahimiyat in everything of the universe, it cannot lead to Rab, Rahman and Rahim. Now these are the three positive qualities. And there is one quality which is found by its negation, by its absence, and that is Maliki Yawmiddin. Because Maliki Yawmiddin means Allah alone is the ultimate proprietor. There is no proprietor but Allah. In the end, in the ultimate analysis, Allah alone is the proprietor and nothing possesses anything else but Allah. So we are only wardens, temporary wardens of things. We are not possessors. So that shows that all these qualities too are not naturally possessed or permanently possessed by anything. They don't belong to them. because they are not Maliki Yawmiddin. So neither they are Maliki Yawmiddin, nor they are permanent possessors of these qualities, that is Rububiyyat, Rahmaniyat and Rahimiyat. They are only temporary orders of evolution and only partially possess these qualities. So Maliki Yawmiddin explains that everything belongs really, originally and finally to Allah. So these qualities also belong to Him. But you will find the imprint of these qualities temporarily. Now this is so important, this statement, and so fundamental, that it is all comprehensive. It applies to every possible attribute and situation. That also shows and establishes that there is no stability in anything. Even stability is a quality, a permanence. And if something possesses the quality of permanence, then it becomes a sort of Maliki Yawmiddin. But Maliki Yawmiddin is an exclusive quality of Allah. So nothing is stable in this universe. Everything is in a state of transient transition, and all qualities which appear, they come and go. Now this is a very, very important statement to be made 1400 years ago, because this is a region of knowledge where the most advanced scientists are still probing, and they are just touching this concept that nothing belongs to anything permanently. Even the qualities which are supposed to be so important for existence that without them there cannot be any existence. Even those qualities are not permanent. So the existence sometimes turns into lack of existence, non-existence. And because there are no qualities left. I think I made a brief mention of this in my last sermon during the Ramadan 1984, that the scientists, while probing into the secrets of dark holes, came upon this concept that there is a phenomenon called event horizon. In that phenomenon, everything which apparently exists loses all its physical qualities and chemical qualities. And because existence means possession of qualities, so as they lose qualities, they lose existence. So whatever is understood to be the nature of dark hole, where things, the energy ultimately gets concentrated and loses itself, there they find a lack of properties, because nothing can escape that dark hole of intense magnetism, intense gravitational magnetism. The thing ultimately becomes so intense that neither the light leaves it, nor the sound leaves it, nor radiation leaves it. Anything which can be described as a quality of existence cannot be observed. It is total lack. And because there is total lack of observation, that is a total lack of properties. And again, this is related to observations. What a beautiful word Allah has given to the universe, Al-Alam. Without observation, nothing exists, as if nothing exists. So from the point of view of human beings, things exist as long as they exist, and then they disappear. From the point of view of Allah, everything exists and has a permanence. So again, reverting to this, because they cannot be observed, so they do not exist. This is the conclusion of the scientists as well. A universe has to be defined as an observable object. This is the latest discovery of the scientists, and this is the only applicable definition to the previously known existence. Now that shows the finest quality of the Quranic verses, that Maliki Yawmuddin is now being, the phenomenon of Maliki Yawmuddin is now being observed by the human beings as well, only partially and imperfectly, but they are reaching that region where they are observing the phenomena of Maliki Yawmuddin. Only Allah becomes the possessor of qualities as far as human beings go. And they shift away from their reach of their knowledge, their wisdom, everything by which you reach things. They elude you. How can they be Rabb and Rahman and Rahim, these inanimate objects, and also other objects which are animate objects? Can we observe them to be Rabb and Rahman and Rahim? Yes, we can. Because Rabbubiyat means, among other things, a quality of improving the nature of other things. And there is such total interdependence in everything, in every form that exists, that the quality of one thing cannot be improved without the help of another thing. By itself, nothing can improve. It has a sort of dependence on other things. So, there is a mutual cause and effect which continues to effect improvement in the same nature of things. So, in this respect, being inanimate, an object or a sort of existence can become providence, can become Rabb, in the sense that it has a role to play in the improvement of other things. And it can be an object and recipient of this grace from others as well. So at the same time, it becomes Alam as well as Rabb. So it has the quality of Alamiyat as well as Rububiyyat. And here Allah alone has the quality of Rububiyyat and not of Alamiyat. Because he cannot be felt and known palpably. Only through Alam can reach Allah, not directly. So Al-Rububiyyat here is only a temporary quality of a thing, not a permanent quality again, as I inferred Maliki Yawmuddin. It had to be like that. Rahmaniyat is a quality which shows its beneficence and showers its graces upon others without others requiring it, without others demanding it. You don't beg for things and yet they come your way automatically as a natural flow from some other beneficent being. This is the quality of Rahmaniyat, though this is not all the quality of Rahmaniyat, but this is one of the major important meanings of Rahmaniyat. So in that sense, when you establish the fact that each thing in existence is responsible for the improvement in others, you also know at the same time that the other thing did not go to the benefactor begging for any mercy or any grace, any favors. So naturally there has to be a quality of Rahmaniyat, a natural flow, automatic flow, which improves things all around, which comes to help others. This is Rahmaniyat. And Rahimiyat, among other things, means that if you employ that thing, then then it begins to show results and give benefits. If you do not employ labor into something, it doesn't give you any benefit. So, for instance, when the rain comes from heaven, this is an expression of Rahmaniyat. When you dig for water, this is an expression of Rahimiyat. Rahmaniyat comes and goes, leaving reservoirs of beneficence behind. Then you employ labor to draw benefit out of that, and when your labor is married to Rahmaniyat, the net result is the beneficence which you draw out of that Rahmaniyat through your labor, through the agency of your labor. So that becomes Rahimiyat. So in everything which you find in the universe, there are these two qualities. There is a natural flow from them to others. Like, for instance, fragrance of flowers. You go by, whether you earn it or not. You happen to be there just by accident, or you are passing by for another purpose, yet you draw benefit out of that fragrance. But fragrance is not all that there is in the creation of Allah. Behind every fragrance, there is some substance responsible for that fragrance, and this is not the only quality of that substance. The fragrance will lead you to that substance, and when you employ your labor and study it and investigate the qualities, you enter a phenomenon of Rahimiyat. So that thing has a quality of Rahimiyat, which it means that when you apply your attention to something, it is not only the superficial benefit that in the first instance you observe in that. There will be deeper benefits to be drawn by application of labor. So everything in the universe has that deeper and permanent quality to be benefited from if you apply labor to it. If you endeavor to draw something out of it, you will always draw something out of it. And in that respect too, you can never exhaust it. There is an unlimited quality. In fact, the scientists now have ultimately to confess that they thought they could reach the ultimate reason, and ultimate wisdom behind things, motivative philosophy. But when they uncover things, they go deeper and deeper to discover more things, to be explained further. So there is no ultimate end. Now this applies to every atom of everything that exists. You cannot reach a stage where you say, this is the end of the journey. No further investigation is required. Because the results of your investigation would open up new avenues before you. So nothing can be exhausted in this sense. So this Rahimiyat is a permanent quality which can never be exhausted. But again, as I have said, there is no malikiyat about it. These qualities are sometimes temporarily presented to you. Sometimes for a longer period they are presented to you, and they come and go, and you can't retain them permanently, you can't hold them permanently. So the second important thing to be observed is the fact that everything which is created by Allah, which has a quality of praiseworthiness about it, has the quality of its creator, though temporarily, not being its ultimate possessor, it possesses it as a quality, as a mark of its creator. And there too it goes on changing from time to time, from situation to situation, and nothing is permanently held by anything, even its qualities which have been created by Allah. they change in intensity, they change in quality, and sometimes they appear and are replaced and disappear and are replaced by other qualities as well. And sometimes they totally disappear, so their existence turns into non-existence. This is the second lesson we draw from the verse Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen in today's sermon. The third point which I want to make today is this: that when it is said Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Rububiyyat means maintenance, the quality of maintenance and sustenance, apart from the quality of improvement. So in that there is a great declaration that everything which you think exists automatically in a sort of inertia does not exist automatically. It has to be sustained. Now this is understood in our human observations and the observations applicable to life, but it eludes vision in the inanimate universe. You know yourself that you have to be sustained, and somebody has to look after you, otherwise you will disappear and you will die out. This is why the fasting reminds us that there is a sustainer. If he does not sustain you, you will die out. There is no automatic flow of anything. Everything is governed and controlled and sustained and organized. So Rububiyyat requires that everything has to be maintained and sustained and organized and disciplined and improved upon. So if that is true, then inanimate objects should also have these qualities, because they are also alameen. Now previously human beings thought that inanimate objects do not require sustenance. Now this is very important, that if something is independent of sustenance, it will be permanent. Only those things are not permanent which require sustenance and maintenance. The inertia would come into picture. Suppose this microphone, which is before me, this does not require any sustenance. The logical conclusion would be that this is a permanent thing, because it will continue. It doesn't require any repair, it doesn't require any looking after, it doesn't require any defense or protection from natural forces which are working upon it, from corrosion, from other things. So it has to be permanent. And there is no quality other than the qualities of God which are permanent. So because everything is to be sustained, nothing is permanent. Everything must have an age. Unless it is sustained constantly. Now there are two things which result from this statement. Number one, if everything is to be maintained and sustained, there has to be an inherent quality of weakness and an inherent quality of lack of permanence about it. Which means everything must have an age. Everything must yajri bi ajali musamma. It must go on to a certain pre-designed end. Now this is a statement which had been challenged previously by the scientists. Because when they observed things, they found there are certain things which have to be permanent. And among them, the scientists of this generation I mean this is the previous generation, counted the protons, for instance. They thought protons have to be permanent. There is no age as to the existence of protons. But later on, evidence appeared, and now they are still searching for further evidence, which indicated that even the protons have their limited age. To the order of 10 raised to the power of 34, some say, and some say 33. Darsul perhaps puts it higher, in the vicinity of 34 and 34. But wherever you put it, the scientists are now almost of the opinion. They have not yet fully reached a conclusive evidence. But the previous surety that there could be things which are permanent is no longer there. Their confidence is shaken, and now they are traveling very rapidly in the direction of believing that everything has its age and nothing is permanent. So this is one of the natural inferences of this statement. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. If there is anything which is independent of maintenance, then you immediately discover something which is permanent. And because Allah says everything requires maintenance, so nothing can be declared permanent. Now permanency here would become a quality of relativity. Only those things would appear to be permanent to you which are maintained by Allah. Because He is permanent, so if He maintains a thing permanently, that thing can be declared permanent in relative terms, not in real terms. Now this is a statement which is applicable to everything in the universe, in every situation, in every species, in every order, and everything you can conceive. And also in every individual. It applies to the class of everything and to the individuals belonging to each class. Hazrat Masih Maud has thrown further light on this phenomena by, for the first time, disclosing to the mankind the true meaning of the word Malaika. Although it was disclosed in the Holy Quran, but as you know, the Holy Quran is also a Kitab al-Maknoon, a book which is open as well as shut. And the meanings of the Holy Quran can only be revealed to people, and they cannot be obtained directly by one's own strength if he has not the blessings of Allah. So, from time to time, new meanings are opened to new pious holy people of Allah, whom He chooses as His instruments for a certain age. Hazrat Masih Maud disclosed to us that everything which appears to be running automatically requires maintenance, and that maintenance is carried out by Malaika. Hazrat Masih Maud has spoken on this subject in various places in his books. For instance, in the commentary upon the verse relating to Malika Saba and Hazrat Sulaiman, where it is said that Hazrat Sulaiman created a palace in which the floor was so shining and so transparent that the queen, which was who was expected to walk over that floor, mistook that floor as water which was flowing underneath it. It was not the floor itself it was water, but the water was flowing underneath it. So the message given to Malaka Sabah by Sulaiman was this, that you observe things like sun, for instance, glowing with energy, and there does not appear to be any foreign being giving energy to sun, providing sun with energy. It seems to be an independent source of energy, but there is nothing which has an independent source of energy or has independent cause for existence. Everything is maintained by others, by some unknown forces. The ultimate maintainer is Rabbul Alameen. But between the Rabbul Alameen and between the existence of things which are being maintained constantly, there are agencies which are responsible for this system of maintenance, which are called Malaika, angels. And those agencies are divided and subdivided into various classes. Everything which quietly appears to be moving on has behind it, someone responsible for running and maintenance of that thing. And it is not directly Allah which is looking after everything directly without employment of other agencies. It is the system which Allah has created is so vast and innumerable that only you can indicate to that system. You can never fathom the depth of the system, and you can never encompass the vastness of the system. So Malaika are the sources responsible, are the agencies responsible for the maintenance of everything. Which means that Rabbul Alameen works through the agencies of things which He has Himself created for the maintenance of things, that is for conveying His rububiyyat to other things. And there is no exception whatsoever in that. The smallest thing that is observable, which can be observed, if you observe it further, you will find other causes responsible for its maintenance. And you go on discovering causes for its maintenance, and other causes will appear further and further until you will reach the limit of your teaser, yet the causes would remain behind. I mean, the procession of causes would not end, because they would ultimately lead to a sort of creation which is Malaika, which themselves cannot be perfectly observed. Only they appear to you under the command of Allah. You cannot reach them. So this is Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen in this respect, that everything requires maintenance. Now this maintenance is applicable to inanimate, as I have said, as well as to the animate worlds, animate kingdoms, and also to the spiritual world. The Holy Quran, for instance, this is revealed, that is an expression of Rahmaniyat. You work on it, draw conclusions, new conclusions from it, reach new horizons of truth and knowledge with the help of the Holy Quran. That is Rahmaniyat. But there is also a constant need for maintenance of the Holy Quran. And this is why Mujaddideen are sent and the holy men are sent. Whenever people pervert the meaning of the Holy Quran or tend to misconclude, then Allah from time to time sends people from Himself who do the reform work. The Holy Quran cannot be reformed, but the damage done to the meaning of the Holy Quran can be reformed. So the main system of maintenance, that is the rububiyyat, it is also applicable to religions and also applicable to the book, the final book, Holy Quran itself. Not literally, but in meaning, in essence. The Holy Quran has to be constantly kept in a form of purity. You ignore that word and suddenly the Holy Quran would appear to become a decadent book apparently, because it would appear to mean differently in different places, and from the points of observations it would appear to mean contradictory things. For instance, the Holy Quran is now being interpreted by the Wahhabis in a manner which cannot, which is totally contradictory to the manner in which it is interpreted by Brahmins, for instance. Many a verse of the Holy Quran is interpreted by Shiites in a manner as is totally incompatible with the manner in which the Sunnites interpret the same verses. So either one is true or the other is true, and the doubt is created. And also there are partial mistakes. All appear to agree, but they do not reach the truth. They have combined in misunderstanding the Holy Quran in a manner. So this requires a system of maintenance. If things go wrong to a slight degree, then the level of maintenance is also smaller to that extent, correspondingly small. But if things have gone wrong too far, then a major repair work has to be undertaken. And this is exactly what was to be meant by the sending of the Mahdi and the Messiah. And this is exactly what Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of Islam, prophesied, that this would be the reason of his coming. Because he is declared to be Hakam and Adl. Both Masih and the Mahdi are declared Hakam and Adl, which means they would sit on the chair of judgment. They would decide between right and wrong in the religion. While everything has been disclosed already and everything has been perfectly made manifest by the Quran, yet there is this requirement of this. Though, as I said, Mujaddideen also did the same work. What was the need for a Mahdi then? The need is only that of degree. To a smaller degree, repair work could be maintained, to be done and accomplished by Mujaddideen. But when the repair work becomes too far, too much, too far out of reach of Mujaddideen, then a wholesale reconditioning was required of the interpretations of the Holy Quran, not of the Holy Quran. So this is how Rabbul Alameen also covers its word, not only its act, not only its material creation, but it's also its spiritual creation. Nothing is outside the influence of the Buddha. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Rububiyyah is a quality which also imparts itself to the things it creates. So things appear to be Rabb or Arbab min dunillah, because everything has its part to play, has its role to play in the maintenance of other things. So sometimes an observer is mistaken because that part is so perfectly played, and that generalized diffused Rububiyyah is observed in such perfect order that you totally miss the phenomenon working behind it. This is which can be described in application to life or animal kingdom as the system of ecology. You might have heard of ecology. This is a science, which is a new science comparatively, but which is being developed now rapidly in America. And this science deals with the study of rububiyyat in the animal kingdom. They say that every animal or every plant, every form of life has a sort of role of rububiyyat to play towards others, so that nothing is wasted. And the sum total is a beautiful balance of things. In a particular environment, when you study the role of each individual, be it an insect or a worm or a bird or a vertebrate animal, or be it a plant of any type, they all have a mutual role of maintenance to play towards each other. So there is a sort of diffused rububiyyat observed in a system, in a wider system, in which not only one single species has to play a part, not only one single class has to play a part, but that system is so wide as to cover both animal kingdom and plant kingdom. And also in that system, the geographical situations play a part, and a sort of ecology is observed in the winds that blow, in the weathers which change, in the rains which come and go, in the droughts, in the sun as it pours down. All these factors which are inanimate, they have also a part of rububiyyat to play in that ecology. So when you study the respective part of all these actors, each actor will appear to be a sort of Rab to you. While Rab is behind all these actors. Rab is the one who is running this show. And you think that you will reach the conclusion by understanding the ecology, and this is exactly where you find the scientists of today. They think that they have solved the riddle, they have reached the ultimate. Now they know how things are maintained, they are maintaining each other. But Rabbul Alameen also points out to certain facts, and which you can reach through the pointing finger of the Holy Quran, which will take you to the ultimate, and you will not be content with the superficial observations. And here I point out to the verses of the Holy Quran, two verses of the Holy Quran, which play a part in this subject which we are discussing. They help us understand the subject more easily and in a better way. Number one, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا يَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا كُلٌّ فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. That there is nothing, no moving animal, no animal which moves about in the world, illa alallahi rizquha. But it is Allah who is responsible for its maintenance. Ya'lamu mustaqarraha wa mustawda'aha. He knows his temporary abode and also his permanent abode. And relative provisions for temporary abode and permanent abodes are provided for each such animal. Now that proves that apparently you may think that the animal kingdom is mutually sustaining itself. But in reality, when you delve deeper into the realities of things, then you will come to know that it is Allah which is maintaining all this. How can you prove it? The second verse which helps us prove this fact, or a set of verses which help us prove this fact, are taken from Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Here Allah Ta'ala tells us, أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَحْرُثُونَ أَأَنْتُمْ تَزْرَعُونَهُ أَمْ نَحْنُ الزَّارِعُونَ لَوْ نَشَاءُ لَجَعَلْنَاهُ حُطَامًا فَظَلْتُمْ تَفَكَّرُونَ. In the ecology, man has also to play a part. So Allah points out to the part played by human beings, where they believe that they are their own Rabbs, their own arbab, their own maintainers, because they sow the seed, they till the soil, they employ the labor, through which the seed sprouts and ultimately multiplies itself and provides for you. So Allah points out to this natural phenomena, which is so simple, as simple as that to human beings, to prove to them that they are the Rabbs. Allah says, أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَحْرُثُونَ. Now, pay attention. أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ is a question which simply means, or apparently means, have you seen what you sow? مَا تَحْرُثُونَ. But أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ really means, have you really seen? Do you really know? Or only you think you have seen? So Allah points out that don't be mistaken by your superficial observations. Afaraytum is a question mark challenging the superficial observations of human beings and pointing out that you are only looking at the surface. You have not attuned your sight to a deeper vision where you can see, instead of reflections, you can see deeper into the pond and see at the underlying surface, the underlying bottom, and things happening at the bottom. So Afaraytum is a warner to remind one that what we observe is not correct. Do you really see what you sow? Do you really understand the phenomena of sowing? أَأَنْتُمْ تَزْرَعُونَهُ أَمْ نَحْنُ الزَّارِعُونَ. So you do. But who is responsible for the phenomenon of sprouting? For its growing into plants, into first, let's say, into roots and shoots, and then a whole plant, and then the phenomena of its bearing fruit, and the multiplication of the fruit, and the whole system which is responsible for conversions of some sorts of energies into other sorts of energies. Carbon dioxide is being absorbed under the influence of sun, and that sun is of course playing a role in that, but it by itself is not enough. The system of organization and perfect balance requires somebody who maintains it from outside. Even if he is not supposed to be the initial cause, at least he should be looked at as an organizer, because there has to be a perfect balance between all these factors which come into play into creation of even a single plant. Apparently you go and throw the seed and you think you have ultimately maintained that crop and you deserve everything because you are yourself responsible for everything done to it. But when you study deeper, Afaraytum, have you really seen? Have you gone deeper into things? At each stage, you will begin to observe other things. And new factors would appear before your sight, over which you have no control. Neither in their creation you are partners, nor in the interrelation phenomena you have any role to play, nor in their qualities you have any role to play. nor in the perfect balance, ultimate balance which is responsible for the production of crops. You have any part to play or any power to exert yourself. I mean, the subject is so vast, it's impossible to exhaust it in one single sermon, even in many sermons. But I quote one simple example. For instance, water has a role to play in the production of crops, but a certain quantity of water, a certain timely application of water, not water as such. So you think you are responsible for the growing of all this, all the food. You are not even capable of controlling the water factor. If water does not drop from the heaven, you have no control over it. If there is too much abundance of water, then all the crop will be destroyed by water instead of gaining life from water. Water can turn into a source of death as well. So you are not the maintainer of this balance, this perfect balance, it is Allah. So Allah points to it and says, again revise your conclusion. Is it you who are responsible for the growth of these things, or we call it the growth? لو نشاء لجعلناه حطاما فظلتم تفكرون. Had we so desired, had we so wished, we might have rendered it into a withered stubble, so that you would be left lamenting for the loss of your labor, for the loss of the fruit of your labor. I mean, there are so many important factors which are constantly being controlled by the unseen forces of Allah, the unseen forces of angels, that just remove one single factor and all the fruit of your labor, your so-called labor, is totally lost. And when you bring all these factors into being, then the part played by your labor is comparatively so small and so insignificant that it almost disappears. Look at the phenomena of growth in a wider perspective. You can't grow every seed everywhere at your own free will, on your own free will, at your choice. For everything there is a season, there is a climate, there is a soil, suitable soil, there is a suitable atmosphere, there is suitable weather. And the weathers come and go too. You have no control over them. And there is a strict know-how. And behind everything, there is a much deeper phenomena working underneath all these factors. So the subject is so vast and so much, so far out of your reach that what we do is just nothing as compared to what is being provided by Allah as a counterpart, but so quietly. So these verses also indicate towards the quality of rububiyyah, the hidden quality of rububiyyah. Most of it is not on the surface. What is on the surface, you attribute to yourself. What is hidden belongs to Allah. And He is so gracious that He does not speak loudly of these things. He Himself has kept these things quiet and hidden from you. Otherwise, you will be always plagued by this overwhelming concept that you are nothing, you are nothing, you are nothing, everything is done by Allah. So He has withdrawn. Rububiyyah has come into action and apparently withdrawn, while it is there all the time. You don't see it. Only when you go too far astray, then when you begin to think that you are your own Rabb, your own creator, your own sustainer, then Allah very slightly, mildly reminds you, and so delicately too, أَفَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا تَحْرُثُونَ. You see, there is no condemnation override condemnation or loud appropriation of these qualities by Allah. Very mildly and gently it reminds you that please behave yourself. You know, we ourselves have withdrawn from your appearance to give you a sort of freedom, to give you a sort of satisfaction that you are also doing something. But at times you compel us to remind you of certain things. So we remind you that please go deeper into things and find out who is the real creator, who is the real maintainer of things. It's not you. This surah, this is Surah Al-Waqia, is partly devoted to the same subject. And in so many ways, Allah points out through various phenomena which we fail to observe because it's so mild and so quiet. But Allah has to remind us. Again it says, the surah tells us, أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ الْمَاءَ الَّذِي تَشْرَبُونَ أَأَنْتُمْ أَنزَلْتُمُوهُ مِنَ الْمُزْنِ أَمْ نَحْنُ الْمُنزِلُونَ لَوْ نَشَاءُ جَعَلْنَاهُ أُجَاجًا فَلَوْلَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Water is a commodity which is so commonplace that it is for granted. Only when it disappears, then you realize the importance of water. And all the time you think that this phenomenon is so natural, automatic, that it had to be there, as if you deserve it. You are lords, overlords of things, and they had to be presented to you like a servant presents something on a platter. But Allah tells you that it is we, your lords, who are providing you with these things. The universe is made subservient to you on our command. And we keep the command constantly in our hands. It is not a sort of command which is given to you and then forgotten about. Again, Maliki Yawmiddin comes into play here in this region. And Allah wants to remind us that the maintainer has to have a complete, constant control over things. Unless he does it, you will be deprived of everything you think you can attain. For instance, water. It's a common commodity. You never think that there is a maintainer because everything is done so quietly. But the system of maintenance is so huge and so perfect and so beautiful and so quiet as well that it is there and it is not there for you to, for a common observer to see. Even the scientists who understand the phenomena, they forget about the phenomena and then begin to take it for granted in everyday life. Now the system of raising of water from the sea. You know, sea has brackish water, and the ultimate source of water is oceans and seas. All these lakes and these wells and these the sources of water, apart from oceans, are only dependent sources of water, and the ultimate dependence is on the reservoir of oceans and seas. And the water there is brackish. It has to be filtered. And the requirement for filtration of that water is so immense and so costly that even if the human beings of today pool their resources, they cannot make an economical, they cannot conceive of an economical way of converting brackish water into ordinary, usable, plain water. And the system of carriage, conveyance from one place to another is also energy requiring system, because it so happens that oceans are at the lowest level and everything else which lives on the surface, on ground, is above sea level, except for a part of Holland, of course, but that is also artificially maintained in a way as if it were above sea level. So you have to raise, generally speaking, you have to raise water from the lowest place. So there are two main difficult problems of maintenance of life. Life has to be maintained with water, and water is a big headache because the source is dead, and the system of conveyance is so costly. It requires so much energy because it has to be lifted from the lowest point to the highest points. And the difference between the lowest point and the highest point is the difference between the surface of Mediterranean, for instance, and the top of Mount Everest. It has to be lifted to maintain the balance and the perfect balance of things, and for so many reasons which I do not go into detail now. There has to be a system of mountains, and unless there were a system of mountains, this perfect system of filtration would not work. This perfect system of conveyance of water from one place to another will not work. And because mountains come into picture, so they have to be fed from top. And the water must fall on the top of mountains and start to flow, either first in the form of ice or directly in the form of water. This has to be the general scheme of things, otherwise the life will not be maintained on Earth. What energy is required to raise all that water that constantly reaches the tops of the highest mountains and then begins to flow downwards and carries in its passage so many salts and other requirements of life, and also in the same passage, in the same course, it provides us with wealth of forests and such variety of life as ultimately necessary for our maintenance. If you study all this, you will be boggled completely. You will not be able to comprehend fully what is happening. And yet, the problem is simply that of turning brackish water into non-brackish water and lifting it and providing it from top. Instead of getting it from below, it has to come from above so that it naturally flows to you. And when it naturally flows to you, you think it's so easy, so simple, so matter of fact, so ordinary, so natural, that you forget to look behind. So Allah Ta'ala tells us and reminds us, أَرَأَيْتُمُ الْمَاءَ الَّذِي تَشْرَبُونَ. Have you really observed the water which you drink? أَأَنْتُمْ أَنزَلْتُمُوهُ مِنَ الْمُزْنِ. You see it naturally falling as a natural phenomena of gravity from heaven, from clouds, or flowing down from mountains. أَأَنزَلْتُمُوهُ مِنَ الْمُزْنِ. Muzn is the source of water which is above us. That is cloud. Also, in the second place, it could be interpreted as the mountain tops. Am nahnu munzilun. Is it you who is responsible for that natural flow, or is it we who are responsible for that natural flow? All the calculated energy of sun, all the various stratas, protected stratas in the atmosphere, they are so highly calculated things, so perfectly maintained in balance, that if the calculations go wrong somewhere, the whole water can be sucked by heavens, and it can totally disappear from your reach by rising higher and higher and ultimately disappearing into the universe. It's not automatically what's being done. There is a perfect system which is designed before the creation, and all the various stratas in the atmosphere play a very important role in this regard. And the amount of energy which the sun sheds upon you each day has to be a calculated amount of energy for this phenomenon. Because if it falls short of the required energy, it will not be able to create this phenomenon. Ultimately, the sun, the ocean, would pull back all its waters to itself. Or if it's too much, then the things will begin to escape. And if this phenomena of water coming from above had not become operative, it would be impossible for human beings to turn the brackish water into non-brackish water for its usage. Ordinarily you don't realize it, but at the time of doubts you do. When the doubts appear, then you realize what is happening. In the smallest islands, which are surrounded by huge, immense oceans, if there is a shortage of water, you can't do a thing. Like Coleridge, where he says, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. In the Ancient Mariner, he describes this phenomena, that sometimes you are caught in a situation, you are in a boat, for instance, where you have exhausted your sources of water, clean water, and then caught in that situation, it's impossible for you to drink a drop of water despite the fact that you are living in an ocean. So this is exactly what Allah says, not exactly in the sense of Coleridge, but what I mean to say is, connecting it with what I have said previously, this is exactly what Allah points out to you. Lo nasha'u ja'alnahu ujajan wa lawla tashkurun. If Allah had so desired, Allah could have turned this water back into brackish water. Ujajan is the bitter sea water, brackish water. Why don't you be grateful? Allah has also turned it clean. Now there is a small law operative, a very small law of nature operative in this regard, which could be changed by Allah. Because in other similar phenomenon, you see a different expression of those laws. When heat or wind acts upon water surfaces, whatever is contained by water by way of solvents is left behind, and only the water particles evaporate. Now there are certain things which also evaporate under the influence of sun and under the influence of blowing winds, but they have different behavior and different levels of evaporation. The result is that each thing is limited within its own spheres of behavior which are imposed upon it by Allah. The result is that if water is mixed with other volatile things as well, and when it is evaporated, what reaches the heaven is ultimately the purest water, without any mixture whatsoever of other ingredients which are found in the water which turn it into brackish water. There are certain salts which do not evaporate at all. But apart from that, there are other liquids as well which may be mixed with water, which may give it a bitter taste, but their process of evaporation is so different from the process of ordinary water that ultimately water is totally cleansed of these ingredients which turn it brackish. And the same process lifts it and makes it lighter. So apparently there is no energy involved, but in fact it is the energy of sun which is involved, and it makes it lighter. Now lighter to what extent? It can go on and on, rising and rising. But the system is controlled until it begins to pour down upon you, and you see this is a natural phenomena and you are responsible for everything, and it is there for you to help. But it's not, nothing is. Everything is maintained. This is the meaning of Buddha. I mean, next, the rest inshallah tomorrow.